My dear friends, let us begin by considering the nature of happiness itself. What is happiness truly? Is it merely the fleeting pleasure we derive from external circumstances, the temporary elation of success for them, or is it something deeper, more enduring? A state of being that persists regardless. I put it to you that true happiness, the kind of happiness that sustains us through life's myriad challenges and tribulations, is not dependent on external factors. It is not contingent upon the presence of others, the acquisition of possessions, or the achievement of worldly success. No, true happiness springs from within, a wellspring of contentment and peace that flows from our very essence. But why, you might ask, should we concern ourselves with learning to be happy alone? Are we not by nature social creatures? Did not God himself declare, "It is not good for man to be alone"? Indeed, the importance of human connection and community cannot be overstated. We are, undoubtedly, created for relationship with God and with one another. Yet I contend that it is precisely because of our relational nature that learning to be happy alone is so crucial, for it is only when we are truly content within ourselves, when we have cultivated an inner life rich with meaning and purpose, that we can enter into relationships from a place of wholeness rather than need, of giving rather than taking. Consider, if you will, the great figures throughout history who have made the mystics who plumbed the depths of spiritual truth, the artists who created works of timeless beauty, the thinkers who revolutionized our understanding of the world. Did they not all, at crucial junctures, did they not learn to be alone with their thoughts, their inspirations, their very souls? Saint Anthony of the desert did not retreat to the wilderness to escape the world, but to find himself, and in doing so, to find God. Henry David Thoreau did not go to Walden Pond out of misanthropy, but to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life. And our Lord Jesus Christ himself, did he not regularly withdraw to lonely places to pray, to commune with the Father, to replenish his spirit? These examples teach us that solitude, far from being a state to be feared or avoided, can be a crucible for personal growth, a forge in which our character is tempered and our spirits refined. Learning to be happy alone is not about embracing isolation or rejecting human connection. Rather, it is about developing the inner resources to find contentment and meaning regardless of our external circumstances. But what does it mean, in practical terms, to learn to be happy alone? How do we cultivate this inner wellspring of joy and contentment? The journey, I assure you, is both challenging and rewarding, requiring courage, introspection, and a willingness to confront our deepest fears and insecurities. First and foremost, learning to be happy alone requires us to develop a strong sense of self. We must come to know ourselves, our values, our passions, our strengths, and yes, even our weaknesses. This self-knowledge is the foundation upon which all else is built. For how can we be content in our own company if we do not truly know who we are? This process of self-discovery is not always comfortable. It often requires us to confront aspects of ourselves that we have long ignored or denied. We may need to wrestle with our own shortcomings to face the parts of ourselves that we find less than admirable. But it is through this honest self-appraisal that we begin to develop genuine self-acceptance and ultimately self-love. And here, my friends, we encounter a great paradox. It is often in the moments when we are most alone that we discover we are never truly alone. For in the depths of our being, in the quiet spaces of our hearts, we find the presence of the divine. As St. Augustine so beautifully put it, "You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our hearts are restless until they rest in you." Learning to be happy alone, then, is intimately connected with developing our spiritual lives. It is about cultivating a deep personal relationship with God, recognizing that he is the ultimate source of our joy and fulfillment. In the silence of solitude, we can hear the still, small voice that speaks to our souls, guiding us comforting us, challenging us to grow. But let us be clear. This spiritual dimension of learning to be happy alone does not negate the importance of human relationships. Rather, when we are grounded in a strong sense of self and a deep connection with the divine, we are better equipped to form healthy, meaningful relationships with others. We approach these relationships not from a place of desperate need or fear of loneliness, but from a place of wholeness and genuine love. Now, you might be wondering, but surely some people are naturally more comfortable being alone than others. Surely there are those who don't need to learn this skill, and you would be right. We all have different temperaments, different levels of introversion or extroversion. Some of us may find solitude more naturally appealing than others. But I put it to you that regardless of our natural inclinations, we all benefit from learning to be happy alone. For even the most extroverted among us will face moments of solitude, times when we must rely on our own inner resolve, and even those who are naturally comfortable alone can deepen their capacity for self-reflection and inner joy. Moreover, in our modern world, with its constant connectivity and ceaseless distractions, the ability to be content in solitude has become more crucial than ever. We are bombarded with noise, with information, with the demands of others. Learning to be happy alone provides a refuge from this chaos, a space in which we can reconnect with ourselves and with what truly matters. But let us delve deeper into the practical aspects of learning to be happy alone. How do we actually go about cultivating this inner contentment? What steps can we take to develop the ability to find joy and fulfillment in our own company? The first step, I believe, is to embrace solitude rather than fear it. We must learn to see time alone, not as a punishment or a sign of social failure, but as an opportunity for growth and self-discovery. This often requires a shift in perspective, a reframing of our understanding of what it means to be alone. Consider the difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is a painful state of perceived isolation, a feeling of disconnection from others. Solitude, on the other hand, is a chosen state of being alone, a space for reflection, creativity, and personal growth. By consciously choosing solitude, by seeing it as a positive rather than a negative, we begin to transform our experience of being alone. The second step is to develop a rich inner life. This involves cultivating interests and passions that bring us joy and fulfillment, independent of others. It might mean delving into literature, exploring art, pursuing a hobby, or engaging in creative pursuits. The key is to find activities that engage our minds and spirits, that challenge us to grow and learn. For some, this might mean developing a habit of reading great books, allowing the wisdom of the ages to shape our thoughts and expand our understanding. For others, it might involve pursuing artistic endeavors, using our creativity as a means of self-expression and exploration. Still others might find fulfillment in studying nature, marveling at the intricacies. Whatever form it takes, this cultivation of a rich inner life provides us with endless resources for contentment and growth. It ensures that we are never truly bored in our own company, that we always have something to engage our minds and nourish our souls. The third step in learning to be happy alone is to practice mindfulness and self-awareness. This involves learning to be fully present in the moment, to observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment. It is about developing the ability to sit with ourselves, to be comfortable in our own skin, even when faced with difficult emotions or challenging thoughts. This practice of mindfulness can take many forms. For some, it might involve formal meditation practices. For others, it might be as simple as taking regular walks in nature, paying attention to the sights, sounds, and sensations around us. The key is to develop the habit of turning our attention inward, of becoming aware of our inner life. As we develop this self-awareness, we may discover aspects of ourselves that we have long ignored or suppressed. We may uncover fears, insecurities, or unresolved issues that have been lurking beneath the surface. This can be uncomfortable, even painful at times. But it is through facing these aspects of ourselves that we grow, that we develop true self-understanding and self-acceptance. The fourth step in learning to be happy alone is to cultivate gratitude. Gratitude has a remarkable power to transform our perspective, to help us find joy and contentment even in challenging circumstances. By regularly practicing gratitude, we train our minds to focus on the good in our lives, rather than dwelling on what we lack. This practice of gratitude is particularly powerful when we are alone. It helps us to recognize the abundance in our lives even when we might be feeling isolated or lonely. It reminds us of the many blessings we have independent of our relationships or social circumstances. One practical way to cultivate gratitude is to keep a gratitude journal. Each day, take time to write down 3 things you are thankful for. These can be big things or small things. The warmth of the sun on your face, a beautiful piece of music, a kind word from a stranger. The act of consciously acknowledging these blessings can profoundly shift our emotional state. The fifth step in learning to be happy alone is to develop a sense of purpose. Human beings are inherently purpose-driven creatures. We need to feel that our lives have meaning, that we are contributing to something larger than us. When we have a clear sense of purpose, we find it easier to be content in our own company, because we know that our solitude is not empty or meaningless, but filled with significance. This sense of purpose can take many forms. For some, it might be tied to a career or vocation. For others, it might involve volunteer work or community service. Still others might find purpose in creative or artistic pursuits, in intellectual endeavors, or in spiritual practice. The key is to identify what truly matters to you, what gives your life meaning and direction. This often requires deep reflection and self-examination. It may involve asking yourself difficult questions. What impact do I want to have on the world? What legacy do I want to leave behind? As we develop this sense of purpose, we find that our time alone becomes infused with meaning. Our solitude becomes a space not of emptiness or loneliness, but of productivity, creativity, and personal growth. We begin to see our alone time as valuable and necessary, a crucial component of living a life of significance. The sixth step in learning to be happy alone is to cultivate self-compassion. This involves learning to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer to a dear friend. Too often, we are our own harshest critics, berating ourselves for our perceived failures. Self-compassion involves recognizing our shared humanity, understanding that everyone struggles, everyone makes mistakes. It means offering ourselves comfort and support when we are facing difficulties. The self-compassion is particularly important when we are alone, as we don't have others around to offer external validation or support. Practicing self-compassion might involve speaking kindly to ourselves, offering words of encouragement and understanding. It might mean taking care of our physical and emotional needs, treating ourselves to small acts of kindness. It certainly involves learning to forgive ourselves for our mistakes and imperfections, recognizing that these are part of the human experience. As we develop this self-compassion, we find that we become more comfortable in our own company. We no longer need constant external validation or approval, because we have learned to provide that for ourselves. This self-compassion becomes a source of inner strength and resilience, helping us to navigate life's challenges with grace and equanimity. Seventh step in learning to be happy alone is to embrace silence. In our noisy, busy world, silence has become increasingly rare and increasingly valuable. Yet it is in silence that we often find our deepest insights, our most profound moments of connection with ourselves and with the divine. Learning to be comfortable with silence is a crucial skill in being happy alone. It involves learning to quiet the constant chatter of our minds, to be still and listen to our own hearts, to the world around us. This practice of embracing silence can be challenging at first. We may find ourselves fidgeting, reaching for distractions, anything to fill the quiet. But as we persist, as we learn to sit with the silence, we often find that it becomes a source of peace and renewal. We discover that in the quiet, we can hear the still, small voice within us, guiding us, comforting us, challenging us to grow. This embrace of silence might take the form of silent meditation practices, of spending time in nature without distractions, or simply of turning off our devices and sitting quietly for a few minutes each day. Whatever form it takes, this practice of embracing silence can profoundly deepen our capacity for self-reflection and inner peace. As we continue on this journey of learning to be happy alone, we may find that our relationship with solitude begins to change. What once felt uncomfortable or even frightening becomes a source of strength and renewal. We begin to look forward to our time alone, to see it as a precious opportunity for growth and self-discovery. Let us be clear, learning to be happy alone does not mean becoming a hermit or rejecting human connection. On the contrary, as we become more comfortable with ourselves, as we develop our inner resources, we often find that our relationships with others improve. We approach these relationships from a place of wholeness, rather than need of giving. Moreover, as we learn to be happy alone, we develop a kind of inner stability that allows us to remain centered and content even in the midst of life's ups and downs. We are no longer at the mercy of external circumstances or the opinions of others. We have found within ourselves a wellspring of joy and peace that sustains us through all of life's challenges. This inner stability also allows us to be more fully present for others. When we're not desperate for companionship or validation, we can truly listen, truly empathize, truly love. Our relationships become richer and more authentic because we are bringing our whole selves to them, not just our needs and insecurities. As we near the end of our exploration of this topic, I want to address a question that may have been lingering in some of your minds. Is this emphasis on learning to be happy alone at odds with our nature as relational beings? Are we not created for community? This is a profound question, and one that strikes at the heart of our understanding of human nature and our relationship with God and others. And I would answer it. Learning to be happy alone is not opposed to our relational nature, but is in fact a necessary component of healthy relationships. Consider the words of Rainer Maria Rilke, who wrote, "The highest task of a bond between two people is that each should stand guard over the solitude of the other." In other words, true love, true friendship, true community does not obliterate our individuality or our need for solitude, but rather protects and nurtures it. Moreover, our ability to be happy alone is intimately connected with our ability to truly love others. For how can we love others fully if we do not first love ourselves? How can we offer others the gift of our presence if we are not comfortable in our own presence? Learning to be happy alone, then, is not about rejecting relationship, but about approaching relationship from a place of wholeness and authenticity. It is about developing the inner resources to be fully ourselves, whether we are in company or alone. As we draw this discourse to a close, I want to leave you with a final thought. The journey of learning to be happy alone is not always easy. There will be moments of discomfort, times when we long for distraction or companionship. There will be days when sitting with ourselves feels like the hardest thing in the world. But I urge you, my friends, to persist. For in this persistence, in this willingness to face ourselves and to cultivate our inner lives, lies the path to true freedom, to authentic selfhood, to a life of deep joy and purpose. Remember that every time you choose to embrace solitude, every time you turn inward and cultivate your inner life, you are not just changing your circumstances, you are changing your character. You are, in a very real sense, participating in your own creation, shaping yourself into the person you are meant to be. And as you do this, as you steadily build this capacity for inner joy and contentment, you may find that something remarkable begins to happen. The distinction between being alone and being with others begins to blur. You carry your sense of wholeness and contentment with you wherever you go, whether you are in a crowd or in solitude. This, I believe, is the ultimate goal of learning to be happy alone. Not to live a life of isolation or self-sufficiency, but to reach a point where our happiness, our sense of purpose and meaning flows from within us, nourishing us and overflowing to touch the lives of those around us. Imagine a world where each of us has developed this inner wellspring of joy and contentment. A world where we approach our relationships not from a place of need or fear, but from a place of wholeness and love. A world where we can be fully present with others because we're fully present with ourselves. This is the world we can create, first within ourselves, and then radiating outward to touch the lives of those around us. So I challenge you, my dear friends, to embrace this journey of learning to be happy alone with all your heart, mind, and strength. Choose to see your time alone not as a burden, but as a gift. Be patient with yourself, but persistent, and watch as, over time, this inner cultivation begins to transform your life in ways you might never have imagined. For in the end, it is not by constantly seeking happiness in external circumstances or in the company of others that we find true joy. It is by developing the capacity to find contentment and meaning within ourselves, in the quiet moments of solitude, in the still small voice that speaks to our soul. Let us then choose wisely how we spend our solitude. Let us use it not as an escape from life, but as a means of entering more fully into life. Let us cultivate our inner gardens with the same care and attention we give to our outer lives. Fourth, it is from these inner gardens that the fruits of true happiness will grow. May God bless you and strengthen you as you embark on this noble endeavor. May you find joy in the journey, perseverance in the face of challenges, and ultimate fulfillment in becoming the best version of yourself. A self that is whole and content, whether in company or alone. Remember, my friends, that you are never truly alone. For in the depths of your being, in the quiet spaces of your heart, dwells the presence of the divine. As you learn to be happy alone, may you also discover the profound truth that you are always in the company of the one who knows you fully and loves you completely. Thank you, and may the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ be with you all as you learn to embrace and cherish your solitude, finding in it the key to a life of deep and abiding joy.